Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Java tutorial series. Throughout my tutorials I'll teach you Java using just Notepad and the command prompt. The order in which my tutorials are organized on both my website at javacjava.com and my YouTube playlist is designed to maximize learning by building on concepts from prior tutorials. This tutorial is about basically the getClass method in the object class. And I'm going to go over some of the common methods in the class. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is open up my web browser, my website, javacjava.com, select begin, and I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the object getClass method. So the object class contains a method named getClass that returns an instance of type class. That's right, there's a class named class. Sure, why not? All kidding aside, the class contains over 60 methods that you can use to determine various things about an instance of an object. Every class and interface inherits this method either directly or indirectly from the object class, so we can invoke it on just about everything. Now the getClass method takes no parameters and is super easy to invoke. Just tack it onto your reference variable and you're good to go. Okay, I've done kind of a drawn out way of it here, but basically I'm declaring a new integer reference variable I, and I'm setting that equal to a new integer object with a state that contains 41. And basically I'm declaring this class reference variable C type, and you don't have to do this, I'll show you. Most people don't, or it's most commonly that's not done. But anyway, this is a class C type, right? And I'm invoking on my instance variable I, just tacking on the getClass method there, invoking the getClass method. That'll return back this class object. Now this class object has just a ton of methods, over 60 methods, and I'll go into some here. So on this next statement here, basically I'm just invoking from our new class object, right, the getName method, right, which will return back java.lang.integer, which is the class of our object. And then I'm invoking the toGeneric string, right? And it'll display back public final class, java.lang.integer. So it tells you a little bit more about it anyway. So on this next statement here, basically this is how you'll see it more oftenly used. You won't even see anyone like declare another class type object as C here, right? Basically you can just take the reference variable, the original one that you're doing there, and then just directly invoke the getClass method, and then that'll return back, of course, a new class object. This right here will return back a new class object, and then just simply chain your method right on top of that. So getDeclared methods returns back a method array, so in type method, right? So we can loop through that method array, and then we can get all the names of the methods for the integer class and display that to the console there too. Okay. Now that you see how easy it is to invoke the getClass method, let's go ahead and test some common methods of the class. All right, let's come down here to the source code, highlight this, Control C to copy, or right click and select copy. Move my browser off screen. I've got a shortcut to the command prompt, but if you don't, you create one really fast by right clicking, selecting new, shortcut CMD next, and finish. It's just that easy. All right, let's go and open that up. First thing you want to do is type in Java C, which is a Java compiler command. You should see all this stuff scroll by. However, if you receive an error message, watch my tutorial on installing the Java development kit. You'll make sure you get that installed and configured properly before continuing. CL is to clear the screen, CD space / CD is short for change directory / tells it to go to the root. I'm going to make a directory here called Java using the MD command. And I already have that folder, but if you don't, it'll go ahead and create one for you. The next thing I'm going to do is make a directory here called getClass method. All right, I'm going to change directories to the getClass method folder here. And I'm going to notepad getClass method.java. All right, let's Control V to paste, or right click and select paste. Let's come up to the top here and save. Basically, I'm importing the java.util package and the java.lang.reflect package, all that stuff in there. Don't worry about this yet. I haven't gone anywhere with the reflect package. And I've got this little enum here. You can ignore that for the time being there. The getClass method has the main method entry point, and basically what it'll do is we'll do some testing on various different objects and instances there. So Down in this class method tester, I've got this single method named testMe, and I'm taking in an object type parameter, right? And I'm going to be invoking that static method here directly up here in the main method, passing it various different things. Like, for example, the first thing I'm going to pass it is a new integer containing the state 41. All right, so then basically it's fairly simple here. The first thing I'm going to do is just create that class C type here, right, for the and invoke the getClass off of whatever object we're passing in here. So we got our class object there. And then I'm just going to be displaying to the console some of the various different common methods here, and displaying some declared fields, some declared constructors, declared methods. Let's go ahead and jump right into this so we can see how this all works here. All right, let's come up here, save this, clear our screen, Java C, compile it, run it. Okay, we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff here. So the first thing that we've got is like basically, for example, what I've done is like this first statement here, right? Get simple name. I'm just invoking the get simple name method on that to return back to that, and I've displayed that to the console there. So the get simple name off of that is integer, get name, java.lang integer, to generic string, public final class, java.lang integer, right? So that's kind of interesting. That means you cannot extend integer there because it's final. Get package, right? Package java.lang, Java Platform API specification version 1.8. Get the generic superclass java.lang.number, right? Number is in fact the superclass of integer, so that's kind of cool there. And then I'm basically just doing some if tests, invoking like, is it an interface, is it an array, is it an enum, anonymous class, and I'm displaying stuff to there, right? This is just a regular class, so it's none of those things. So now I'm coming down here, and here's all the declared fields. Min value, max value, should recognize those, type, and then you got all these other fields here, right? And I'm simply doing that by invoking the getDeclaredFields method here. And I'm going to bring back over my browser. And I've got the documentation for the class loaded up here already there. Right, and you can see we've got all of these just crazy methods here. And a lot of them are really specialized, like, get annotated interfaces, right? Oh, please, I mean, whatever, who's ever going to use that, maybe somebody will. But anyway, so I want to get the declared fields. Where are you? Get declared fields, right? So that returns an array of fields reflecting all the fields declared by the class or interface represented by the class object, right? So we load that into a field array. And so if we click on, for example, field, right? Field, this particular class has, similar stuff to the other stuff there. It has get name, which will return back just basically like the string name of the field represented by this field object, okay? All right, so these are all the various different ones. I've just kind of picked and choose some of the more commonly used ones there. Get name is probably one of the most commonly, if not the most commonly used one there in the whole entire thing there, which is this one simply down there, the name of the class there. So that's where you can find that there. I'm going to go and move this off screen here. So we load up this field, or this array of type fields there, and then we can just simply use an enhanced for loop to loop through it there and get declared fields F, and then we can invoke that get name method there to display that to the console there. So that's what we end up getting there. The next one there, get declared constructors, returns back a constructor type. We can just load that into a constructor array. We don't even need to know what the constructor class and all that stuff really is. We just need to know that it returns back, a constructor type, right? Get declared constructors returns back a constructor array right there. So we can just loop through that constructor array and display the constructor value to the console there, right? You can see, so we've got basically two constructors. One takes an int value and the other takes a string value, and obviously that one throws java.lang number format exception if you stick some sort of number in there that it can't parse into an actual integer object there. And then the last thing I've got going on down here is just basically the getDeclared methods, which loads this into a method array, right? And we can loop through the method array, same thing, calling m.getName, okay? And then here's all, of course, the methods that are for that integer class there. And if we wanted to see a little bit more about these methods here, right? Because it doesn't do us a whole lot of good. This is just the names of it, the get name. We can simply take this get name off of here, right? We can just delete that, and let's come back up here, save this, recompile it. And then what you'll get is you'll get the actual, like, really drawn out things here, right? Let's come down here to, like, for example, parse. Well, any of these. But anyway, you can see, like, for example, reverse, right? It returns back an int value and takes in an int value into the parameter list right here, right? So basically, yeah, taking that off, and you can see a little bit more about it and various different things. I'm going to go ahead and put that back there just because it's just a little bit more readable in my opinion there. Save that. Compile, rerun. Bada bada bing. Okay. Now up here in the main method here for the getClass method, I've just got some various different things I just kind of want to run through. Let's say, for example, we pass it over a new int array, right? That hold basically two integer values there. Now, well, you probably won't remember way back from the Wayback Machine that when you learned about an array, you probably remember, maybe you don't, that an array is actually an object. So we can pass that in there. Let's see what happens there. And this is one of the good things about the getClass method, is we can kind of, see a little bit under the hood and hack away at the, at the underlying stuff a little bit there by doing these sort of tests on this. So let's come up here and save. Let's clear our screen. Let's recompile, rerun it. Okay. So passing in that simple name, just int array, get name, you got this left bracket, and then an uppercase I. That's kind of interesting. The generic string, public abstract final class, so not part of any package. And of course the superclass is an object, and you can see it is an array because that passed this little test that I have going on down there, right? Invoking is array, then I just display to the console it is an array. So it's kind of interesting passing in stuff like that. Let's go ahead and just pass in, for example, a new array list object right here to it. So let's come up here and save that. Let's clear our screen, recompile, rerun. All right, and array list, util array list. It's in the util package, generic string array list, and then basically we've got our generic syntax right there, taking in the class type, and then the package superclass, right? So array list is a subclass of abstract list. Okay, it's interesting. Here's the various different fields there: default capacity, max array size. That's interesting. I wonder what that value is equal to. I'm not wondering too much, but anyway, so. And then, of course, the constructors, right? You can create an empty one. The int constructor basically sets the size of the default capacity there. I know that off the top of my head. Or you can pass in, like, for example, another collection type object there. So add, remove, get, so on and so forth there. There's all the methods for that. Okay, let's try the next one here, which is just passing in the string literal hello world. Let's save this and clear our screen and run that. Okay, so our string literal hello world is a string class, right? That's to be expected there. Object is the thing, and you've got the fields, and then you got, of course, got a gazillion constructors and a bazillion methods in the string class there. All right. Let's try something interesting. Let's try an enum here. So I've got this enum, I'm just calling it silly, and it basically has 3 types up here, 3 enum types there, which is 1, 2, and 3. And so we'll pass in just doing a, give you a quick refresher on declaring an enum. So basically you do like silly s equals silly dot 2, right? Yeah, when assigning an enum, you don't ever say, like, for example, new silly.2, right? You just do it directly like that syntax. So we can just pass that in, or I could pass in the s. So I just chose it to do it like that, right? Just a quick refresher on that. All right, let's go ahead and clear our screen, recompile that, and see what we come out with an enum. That might be kind of interesting to see the results in that. So simple name, silly, final enum, silly, okay? Package null, and the superclass is actually part of the enum superclass, and it's generic too, and we're passing in type silly of the enum, so it's an enum. Declared fields I find kind of interesting. 1, 2, 3. I wasn't really expecting seeing this $ values. I find that interesting. Not entirely sure what that is, but I'm not that curious. So, and the constructors was kind of interesting too as well. You know, you basically have 2 parameters for a constructor there, which is a string and an int. I don't exactly understand why that is or what that is, but yeah, I thought I'd run it through the cheese grater here and see that. The declared methods, values and value of, right? Those are the declared methods for the enum there. Which, by the way, values, or wait, let's just check something out. I'll bring this up over here. I'm just bring the enum class up in the browser over here. You know, since the superclass is java.lang.enum, right? So we'll inherit all of these methods. Where my browser went, right? We'll inherit all of these methods from the enum class, right? And you'll notice that values is not on there, right? And values actually returns back like an array that contains all of the enum type values there. If you watch my enum tutorial, you can catch up on that there. But anyway, so that's kind of interesting on that. Let's move on to the last, well, actually, yeah, the last thing that I want to do. And that is we're going to create an anonymous class and run the anonymous class through there, right? So simple runnable, our new runnable, and then here's our anonymous class. And of course, we're overriding the public void run, and I didn't put the add override annotation in there. I just wanted to keep it real simple here. And then passing in the reference variable r there. So an anonymous class, let's see what we come up with that. That should give us some interesting results. Clear our screen, Java C, run it. Okay, so anonymous class has no name, right? Simple name, no name, right? Get name, we got the get class method, $1. That's a little strange, right? That's that same thing, no package. The superclass for anonymous class I found kind of interesting as java.lang.object because, well, I guess maybe that makes sense because in fact it's kind of underlying it's implementing runnable, so I'm not entirely sure why that's object there, but maybe that does make sense. Maybe it's just since it has no name, it's anonymous. Maybe it's not inheriting from anything. But anyway, you can see the declared methods run, which is the run method that I overrode right there, right? And the constructors, there is just, of course, basically this is the default no argument constructor there. That's implicitly in everything, basically. So that's kind of interesting on that. So anyway, the get class method is really kind of comes in super valuable when you're trying to find information out about, for example, the object that you don't know, or like, for example, if you've got a third-party class that you're implementing or not implementing, extending or importing or whatnot there, and you want to make an object about it and you don't have necessarily good documentation on this third-party class, you can definitely run it through the getClass method and some of the class methods, to kind of reverse engineer stuff and run it through a cheese grater and stuff like that. So it is really, really helpful for that. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that and get that off screen there. I don't really have any final thoughts on this. That basically about does it there, but once again, that covers a another one of the 11 classes in the 11 methods in the object class. So that concludes this tutorial. Thanks for watching.